Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. जयो राधा वल्लभ राधा वल्लभ श्री राधे जयो जगन्नाथा जगन्नाथा बलदेवा जयो सुभद्रा जयो गौरनिताय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय जयो गौरानिताय जयो प्रभुपदा 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 श्रीला प्रभुपदा श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस AC भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे. ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज. ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज. ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज. ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री श्री गुरु एंड गौरांगा. All glories to His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavatiruttama-shloke Bhaktir-bhavati naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you for today's discussion of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. We are reading from Canto 6, Chapter 16, titled as King Chitraketu Meets the Lord. We are reading 23 and 24 today. Yanna sprashanti na viduhu Mano buddhindriyasavaha Antarbahishcha vitatam Vyomavattanatosmyaham Yanna sprishanti na viduhu Mano buddhindriyasavaha Antarbahishcha vitatam Vyomavattanatosmyaham Yanna sprishanti na viduhu Mano buddhindriyasavaha Antarbahishcha vitatam Vyomavattanatosmyaham Yanna sprishanti na viduhu Mano buddhindriyasavaha Antarbahishcha vitatam Yomavatosmyaham Yanna sprishanti na viduhu Antarbahishcha vitatam Yanno sprishanti na viduhu Mano buddhindriyasavaha Antarbahishcha vitatam Vyomavattanatosmyaham Mataji. Yanna sprishanti na viduhu Mano buddhindriyasavaha Antarbahishcha vitatam Vyomavattanatosmyaham. Word to word. Yat, whom, na, not, sprishanti, can touch, na, nor, viduhu, can know, manaha, the mind, buddhi, the intelligence, indriya, the senses, asavaha, the life airs, antaha, within, bahihi, outside, sha, also, vitatam, expanded, vyomavat, like the sky, tat, unto him, nataha, bowed, asmi, am, aham, I. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Brahman emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and expands like the sky. Although untouched by anything material, it exists within and without. Nonetheless, the mind, intelligence, senses and living force can neither touch him nor know him. I offer unto him my respectful obeisances. There's no purport, so I'll continue with 24. Dehendriya prana manodhiyomi yadamsha vidhaha paracharanti karmashu naivan yada lauhyam iva prataptam sthaneshu tadrashta padeshameti. Translation and purport. As iron has the power to burn when made red hot in the association of fire, so the body, senses, living force, mind and intelligence, although merely lumps of matter, can function in their activities when infused with the particle of consciousness by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As iron cannot burn unless heated by fire, the bodily senses cannot act unless favored by the Supreme Brahman. Purport. The red-hot iron can burn, but it cannot burn the original fire. Therefore, The consciousness of small particle of Brahman is fully dependent on the power of the Supreme Brahman. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. From me, the conditioned soul receives memory, knowledge and forgetfulness. The power for activities comes from the Supreme Lord. And when the Lord withdraws this power, the conditioned soul no longer has energy with which to act through his various senses. The body includes 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, 5 active senses, and the mind. But actually, these are merely lumps of matter. For example, the brain is nothing but matter, but when electrified by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the brain can act, just as iron can burn when made red hot by the influence of fire. The brain can act while we are awake or even while we are dreaming, but when we are fast asleep or unconscious, the brain is inactive. Since the brain is a lump of matter, it does not have independent power with which to act. It can act only when favored by the influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Brahman or Parabrahman. This is the way to understand how the Supreme Brahman Krishna is present everywhere, just as the sunshine is present because of the sun god in the sun globe. The Supreme Lord is called Hrishikesha. He is the only conductor of the senses. Unless empowered by his energy, our senses cannot act. In other words, he is the only seer, the only worker, the only listener, and the only active principle or the supreme controller. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishna Vamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Yam pravrajantam anupeta krityam dvaipayana viraha katara ajuhava putreti tanmayataya taravo bhinedu stham sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi. Hare Krishna. So here in this section, this is a section where Narada Muni is instructing Chitraketu after he has lost his son, and after invoking his son Harshashoka again to preach to him. And between 18 to 25, it's almost like Narada Muni is initiating him into a mantra upadesha, so that he can witness the Lord. He's preparing his consciousness to witness the Lord. Just to put certain things in perspective, we are reading from 23rd verse, from almost 21st verse, 18th, from 18th he's teaching about the mantra upadesh, but from 21st to 25, these 5 verses, Narada Muni is talking to Chitraketu about the various features of the Lord. So that means he's preparing his consciousness. 21, he spoke about the impersonal feature of the Lord, which we heard. He says, Anama Rupas Chin Matraha, that he is spiritual completely. 22, which we heard yesterday, Narada Muni said that he is the cause of this universe. Tasmai te Brahmane. 23, that we are reading today, Yanna Sprishanti na viduhu mano buddhi indriya asavaha. That means he is beyond the senses. He is beyond the reach of these senses. Although he is the cause of this universe, of this phenomenal world and everything that be, he is beyond the grasp of these senses. That's what he's saying in 23. And 24, he is also the source of our consciousness. Yadamsha viddaha pracharanti karmashu. And then 25, he culminates that he is also served by that by the devotees. Now, what is a very important observation here is whenever Bhagavatam speaks about witnessing the Lord, a very important aspect comes into the being, especially before we reach the 10th canto. All of these cantos, even in the 2nd canto, when Narada Muni is preached to by Lord Brahmaji, a very critical aspect comes into a meditation is to meditate that the Lord is the creator of this universe, or he is the Jagat Karana Vastu, or he is the cause of all causes. So one may contemplate, why is it important? Why is it important to know that the Lord is behind the creation of this universe, or he is the cause of this universe? That is because for an embodied jiva, or for an embodied soul, matter is perceivable to us. Anything that is phenomenal, anything that is mundane is perceivable to our senses. So therefore it is very natural to question, where did this come from? Where did this universe come from? Or where did this, when you see nature around us, when you see something beautiful, we always question, how did this come into being? So when you see some creation, you always question the creator. Who did this? So therefore it becomes very important to meditate on the creation and the creator, or the Jagat Karana Vastu, or the person behind this creation. So therefore it's very, you'll see this aspect time and again in Bhagavatam, to meditate that Krishna is the creator. And this can only be meditated by someone who are called as Manava. Manava, or humans. Manava comes from the word Manu, or man. You see, man comes from Manu, mankind, or Manu. We are all descendants of Manu. So therefore Manava only can do manana. Manana means one who can meditate. So therefore it is important for humans to meditate on this particular aspect, to know who is the Lord. Yet, because that's what Narada Muni said in 22nd verse, but in 23rd quickly Narada Muni says, you have to question who is the creator, but you cannot question him with your mundane senses. So he rejects saying, yeah, you try to know him, but you cannot know him with your mundane senses. So there are certain, oxymoron truths. Like, yes, you have to know him, but you can't know him with your senses. But we have to make an attempt, and this is the verse which says he is beyond these senses. In fact, Bhagavatam begins with this verse, Janma Dyasya Yataha. If you see, Bhagavatam starts with these 3 verses. Janma Adi Asya Yataha. Janma Dyasya Yatonvayat Itaratas Chartheshva Bhignaswarat. Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayah Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimaya Yatra Trisargom Vrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. So Dhimahi is also a part of Gayatri. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. When we chant the Brahma Gayatri, we chant the Dhimahi. So therefore, this is also known as the Gayatri Mantra, the first verse of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Janma Adi Asya Yataha. This is how we have to know the Lord. That is, everything that is created, everything that is phenomenal, or everything that is spiritual, everything comes from that person. And who is that person? That is the whole point of meditation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. The absolute truth. That's why Prabhupada begins the introduction by saying God and absolute truth are two different matters. Now, to understand this, we have to have faith. The second thing is we have to have logical reasoning. Because, for example, let's say we meet a child who is lost in a marketplace. Let's see, we meet a small child, a young child who is lost. What is the first thing we do when we see the child? He's crying and you go to him. What is the first question you ask to him? Him or her? Why are you crying? And he continues to cry. What's the next question you ask? Huh? Correct. He says, where are your parents? Because he's lost, isn't it? It's a typical question. Now the child says, I don't have any parents. I just manifested just now. What do you think you will feel? You'll feel either the child is actually delirious in his condition because he's lost his parents, isn't it? What's interesting, modern scientists, contemporary scientists, or scientists from many, many years also speak like this, that the whole universe spontaneously came out of nothing. It's spontaneous, and it came out of nothing. I was hearing an interview. It was a scientific presentation. It was a 2.5-hour video with a lot of physics and diagrams and graphs. And the video was to prove what is nothing. He went on for 2.5 hours to explain what is nothing. Can you even imagine the ridiculous attempt by scientists to do this, to define what is nothing. And finally, in the end, he culminates, nothing means it's a particle. Why do you even call it nothing? It is something, isn't it? So this is the futile attempt by scientists to actually decry the creator. Prabhupada, in the 13th chapter, which is a very interesting chapter, he says in one of the purports, there are two types of people. One, who want to seek where from all of this has emanated. This is valid reasoning, because a person with sound reason will say, if you see a child, naturally he must have been manifested because of his parents. So when we see this universe, and that too, this universe is not a haphazardly created universe. It's perfection. If you see, no two trees are equal. Even in the tree, no two leaves are equal, if you actually study. So one may wonder how beautiful and how unique this creation is, that even in our own hand, no two fingers are equal, you see. And no two fingerprints are equal. So unique. It's so unique. No two things in this creation are equal. Even twins born together, we have twins here sitting here, they don't look alike and their fingerprints are different. Even if they look alike, their fingerprints are different. Such a unique creator, one instills interest in them, interest in such a person, or to seek who is this person who is so unique. So if his creation is so unique, so he must be unique. I need to know who that is. But there are second class of men who will never even be able to approach this unique person. And Prabhupada writes, such persons Prabhupada classifies as atheists and agnostics and skeptics. Prabhupada writes in 13.25. These three types of people classified as non-theists, or people who will never be able to question that person or that creator or God or Krishna. Or in modern terms, agnostics means, you see, agnostic is an interesting word, because agnostic comes from the word ajnana. You see, ajnana, agnostic. Agnostic means one who try to study the scriptures or want to still misinterpret the scriptures. They are mostly impersonalists or Mayavadis. And then the skeptics are basically obscurantists. Obscurantists means they are skeptical of their knowledge. They are skeptical of everything. So therefore they will just culminate to say, no, God may be there, or maybe God is energy, or God is the universe. They are skeptics. They are skeptics. So they will never come to any conclusion. And atheists, we know, they will say there is no God. There is absolutely no God, because everything is coming spontaneous. Interestingly, you know what these type of scientists use to prove that there is no God? Can anyone tell me? How can you prove God? How can you prove that there is no God? How can you prove that there is no God? If somebody asks us, can you prove me if there is God? Then definitely we will say, can you prove me if there is no God? First prove me if there is no God, then I'll prove you that there is God. Isn't it? In fact, one of the greatest so-called I don't want to name him, but he says, I cannot disprove the existence of God. But because I cannot prove his existence, for me, God does not exist. That's what his sentences are. I'll just read a few lines, which is very interesting. He says, we are each free to believe what we want. And it's my view that the simplest explanation is, there is no God. No one created our universe and no one directs our fate. This leads me to a profound realization that there probably is no heaven and afterlife either. So this is his statements, you see. Why? Because they're all theory. They're theologian. They'll just theoretically, they are physicists. They claim to themselves to be physicists, but they theorize all of this. And they reject God. Why? Because they are atheists. They don't want to believe. And he culminates to say, what then? If science can answer all questions of life, why do we even need God? That's their culmination. If science can answer everything, why do we need God? But then you ask them, how did this universe come into existence? So somebody asked him. Actually, there is always an ongoing debate between faith practitioners, so-called faith practitioners or religionists, and these scientists. And the question is, how did this universe come into being? Well, they have this theoretical explanation that they all came up all of a sudden, just as the boy said, I just manifested right here, right now, you see. So in the same way, because they cannot come to a conclusion if chicken came first or egg came first. You know, it's an eternal problem we have. Which came first? The egg came first or the chicken came first? So they can't come to a conclusion. And science has not been able to answer this question yet. And it's all speculation only. So, for this person, for him, he says, because science can explain everything, so therefore there is no God. Then this religionist asked one question. He asked,